I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We've got the latest on breaking news from the United States and around the world. We'll get you caught up on all of it, but first, a look at the latest headlines. Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te stays overnight in Guam. The Taiwanese leader engages in talks with House Speaker Mike Johnson as he visits the American territory. New York police launch a manhunt and declare a $10,000 reward for information on the gunman who killed United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson on Wednesday. Authorities have called it a premeditated attack. French Prime Minister meets President Emmanuel Macron and tenders his resignation. The move comes after both the far right and far left united to pass a no-confidence motion against the Prime Minister. Iran passes a controversial chastity law that enforces stricter punishments on women who refuse to adhere to Islamic dress codes. This includes wearing tight clothing and dresses where ankles, forearms, and the neck can be visible. And millions of Cubans plunge into darkness after the nation witnesses a third blackout in just 2 months. Officials say that only about 20% of the country's electricity has been restored. We begin in the Middle East, where Hamas has threatened to kill all of the hostages if Israel tries to carry out rescue operations in Gaza. Now, according to a report from Reuters, senior Hamas officials have told operatives to neutralize all hostages if they sense increased Israeli military activity. In fact, it's been declared that the fate of the hostages now depends on Israel's actions. And we're also learning that some of the hostages have in fact been killed as of recently, as Israeli troops began a rescue operation in central Gaza.
Today, it has been cleared for publication that during an ISA operation supported by the IDF, the body of Israeli hostage Itai Svirsky was successfully recovered from the Gaza Strip and returned to Israel for burial. Itai was kidnapped from his parents' home in Kibbutz Be'eri on October 7th. His parents were murdered by Hamas terrorists. Itai was kidnapped alive. The inquiry investigated the reasons behind the death of the hostages and raised a number of possibilities. The possibility we think is the likeliest is that due to the strike, the terrorists murdered the hostages and the terrorists themselves were killed as a result of the IDF strike.
Now, Israel has accused Hamas of deliberately wanting the war in Gaza to continue by not returning the hostages and killing them during rescue efforts. Currently, there are over 100 hostages, including Americans, that are still being held captive.
Regarding Gaza, the most important thing today in the war in general is to return the hostages home. This is the ultimate goal that stands before our eyes, and we are working in every way to make this happen. I think that thanks to the intense activity, of which you are a central part, both the deterrence of Iran and what is happening in Lebanon and everywhere, the intensity of the pressure on this monstrous organization called Hamas is increasing, and there is a chance that this time we will really be able to advance a hostage deal. And we are working on this matter and see this goal before our eyes. Of course, in the future, Hamas cannot control Gaza. This is absolutely clear because of what has happened and because of what may happen.
It's also worth noting that Hamas has threatened to kill the hostages just days after President-elect Donald Trump warned the terror group. Taking to social media, Donald Trump threatened Hamas to either return the hostages before his January 20th inauguration, or there will be, quote, all hell to pay, end quote. However, the Palestinian group's recent communications reveal Donald Trump's options of a military offensive would not only mean the end of the hostage release deal, but it also could end in the remaining hostages being killed by Hamas. And here in the United States, President-elect Donald Trump has picked billionaire entrepreneur and astronaut Jared Isaacman as the next NASA administrator. In a post on his social media platform, Truth Social, the president-elect said Isaacman's passion for space and astronaut experience makes him the ideal candidate to lead the American Space Agency.
I am delighted to nominate Jared Isaacman, an accomplished business leader, philanthropist, pilot, and astronaut, as administrator of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Jared will drive NASA's mission of discovery and inspiration, paving the way for groundbreaking achievements in space science, technology, and exploration.
41-year-old Isaacman is the founder of the commercial aerospace defense company Drake & International and has close ties with tech billionaire Elon Musk. Earlier this year, Isaacman became the first civilian to walk in space and also led the first flight of an all-private crew of astronauts back in 2021. Both these missions were launched by Elon Musk's SpaceX.
Say there was one moment that where I saw the moon rise. You know, we went to a higher altitude than really, you know, anyone's been in 20 years. There's probably, you know, less than, I don't know, 25 people, you know, in the world that are alive to have seen the Earth from the angle and the perspective we were at. And it allows a lot of the Earth and a lot of the space around it. And from that space, we saw a moon rise. And really what it made me just think is we just have to keep going. We have to keep turning science fiction into reality.
Isaacman describes himself as a space geek since kindergarten. In fact, he dropped out of high school when he was just 16 and founded the credit card processing company Shift4 Payments. Now reacting to Donald Trump's announcement on Wednesday, the young billionaire said he was honored to join the incoming administration.
With the support of President Trump, I can promise you this. We will never again lose our ability to journey to the stars and never settle for second place. We will inspire children, yours and mine, to look up and dream of what is possible. Americans will walk on the moon and Mars, and in doing so, we will make life better here on Earth.
If confirmed by Congress, Isaacman will be the fifth NASA chief with actual spaceflight experience. He will succeed 82-year-old Bill Nelson, a former Democratic senator and space shuttle astronaut appointed by President Joe Biden back in 2021. Nelson oversaw advances in NASA's Artemis program, which aims to land the first woman and person of color on the lunar surface by the end of 2026. However, Isaacman's nomination raises questions about the future of Artemis, which has a key government-funded component called the Space Launch Rocket. With SpaceX already pushing for its own heavy-lift Starship rocket, Elon Musk's close ties with Donald Trump and his NASA pick Isaacman are expected to boost America's commercial space industry much more in the next 4 years. Now, it wasn't just politics in the spotlight this election, but paws, claws, and wagging tails as well. A recent survey has revealed that dog owners backed Donald Trump while cat lovers leaned towards Kamala Harris. With pet-related controversy, celebrity endorsements, and even a childless cat lady scandal, the 2024 presidential race became a battle for more than just votes. So how did the pets of America shape the ballot box? Our next report breaks it all down.
The 2024 presidential race wasn't just about policies or personalities, it was a tail-wagging, whisker-twitching showdown. With pet owners making up 2/3 of voters, the battle for their loyalty took center stage. While cats stirred the conversation,
the people that came in, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people that live there.
It was dogs who ultimately tipped the scales in favor of President-elect Donald Trump. A survey by AP Votecast, polling over 120,000 voters, revealed a striking divide. Trump garnered support from dog owners. At least 55% supported the former president, while only 44% of cat owners supported Vice President Kamala Harris. The result? Dogs ruled the ballot box. And while it's evident that dogs carried significant weight in this election, It's also worth noting that about 30% of the voters owned only dogs, while another 20% owned both cats and dogs. And in contrast, cat-only owners made up just 15% of the electorate. And former President Donald Trump performed exceptionally well with dog owners, particularly men. He secured nearly 60% votes from male dog owners and 52% votes from female dog owners who didn't own cats. Vice President Harris, on the other hand, found her strongest support among women who owned only cats. Around 6 in 10 of these voters backed her and made up to 59% of the votes, while at least 40% of the male cat owners backed the vice president. Harris, with nearly 60% votes from female cat owners, also signaled a potential backlash against Donald Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance. His childless cat lady remark struck a nerve, souring many female cat owners during the election.
I would completely disagree with that. And I'm also kind of offended because I actually was born in the same region in southwestern Virginia as what J.D. Vance purports to be in. And I know wonderful, wonderful people, cat people, dog people, loving people that feel the same as I do. And we don't feel the need to say hateful things like that.
Now, it's impossible to know how much Vance's comments played into Harris's tally. But his statements didn't seem to move the needle much. Americans who owned both dogs and cats still showed a clear margin in Trump's support, with 52% backing him, while Harris lagged behind with 47% of the votes. Dog owners swayed the 2024 US presidential election. Even though neither candidate owns a pet, dog owners overwhelmingly supported Trump. And for Democrats, winning over dog lovers remains a challenge. Party loyalty among this group is strong, but future campaigns might consider a creative outreach, perhaps even with a campaign dog. In the end, the 2024 election was more than a political contest. It was a playful rivalry between cats and dogs, where the canine fur buddies barked their way to victory.
And staying in North America, a feud between Canada and Mexico is brewing after President-elect Donald Trump vowed heavy tariffs on both nations. Last week, the president-elect threatened to impose 25% tariffs on all Mexican and Canadian products until both countries stop drug smuggling and illegal immigration into the United States. Since then, both Canada and Mexico have worked to gain assurances from Donald Trump to roll back his tariff threat. In fact, on Tuesday, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum blamed Ottawa for America's fentanyl crisis, saying Canada has a very serious problem of drug consumption. Sheinbaum went on to say that Canada could only wish it had the cultural riches Mexico has, mocking the country's culture and its framing of border issues. The Mexican president added she will soon sit with Donald Trump to discuss U.S.-Mexico trade and security relations.
When I talked to him over the phone, we had a good call. In his own manner, he said it was a good call. We both discussed we should meet soon, but we haven't decided on a date. We will wait to do so, but I am sure we will keep a good relationship.
Meanwhile, Canadian Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly said she doesn't plan to escalate the war of words with Sheinbaum.
I fundamentally believe that many conversations, when it comes to diplomacy, are always better when they remain private.
Mexico started the blame game after Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau rushed to Florida to meet Donald Trump following his tax threat. Ottawa said the meeting was productive despite receiving no assurances from the incoming U.S. president that he would in fact stand down on tariffs. For both Mexico and Canada, economic success largely depends on their multi-billion-dollar trade with the United States. However, Donald Trump, who loves to divide and conquer, is expected to disrupt trade, especially with Mexico in his second term.
So Trump made the tariff threat on Monday, citing an influx of migrants entering the United States illegally. But the numbers between the U.S. and Canada pale in comparison. I mean, the U.S. Border Patrol made about 56,000 arrests at the border in October alone. you compare that to from Canada, the numbers are like 23,000 over the course of an entire year. And in terms of fentanyl crossing from Canada to the United States, we're talking the U.S. Border Service seized about 43 pounds of fentanyl compared to about 21,000 pounds at the Mexican border. So the numbers are not even close.
Now, tensions have been rising even before Donald Trump takes office as Canadian leaders called on Justin Trudeau to negotiate a bilateral trade deal with Washington that excludes Mexico. In response, Sheinbaum said Mexico must be respected, especially by its trading partners. The United States, Canada, and Mexico currently have the largest trilateral free trade agreement in the world. However, with Donald Trump's threat of devastating tariffs, the future of the deal now appears in limbo. And finally, amid crippling sanctions, Russia's financial strategy is taking a bold new turn. Vladimir Putin, who was once a vocal Bitcoin skeptic, now calls it unstoppable. His shift comes as Russia embraces crypto-friendly reforms, recognizing digital assets as property that cannot be seized. Putin's optimism for Bitcoin comes as it crossed the $100,000 mark after Donald Trump picked crypto advocate Paul Atkins to lead the Security and Exchange Commission. Here's our final report with more.
Bitcoin's remarkable rise beyond the $100,000 milestone has captured global fascination. This once-a-lifetime bold mark is being linked to significant geopolitical shifts, as well as powerful endorsements, notably including Russian President Vladimir Putin's thrilling pro-crypto comments. In a remarkable turnaround, President Vladimir Putin, who was once a skeptic of Bitcoin and even termed it risky and something used for crime, has now declared it unstoppable. Speaking at a Moscow investment forum, Putin stated, "Who can ban Bitcoin? Nobody." President Putin's shift reflects Russia's growing interest in alternative financial systems. Cryptocurrencies are now recognized as property in Russia. Transactions are exempt from value-added tax, and crypto earnings are taxed at a capped rate of 15%, similar to securities. Putin linked the rise of cryptocurrencies to global demands for efficiency. He praised their ability to lower costs and improve reliability.
Because they are new technologies, and no matter what happens to the dollar, these tools will develop one way or the other because everyone will strive to reduce costs and increase reliability.
However, he also tied this trend to broader economic shifts. According to Putin, the US dollar's declining dominance stems not from crypto's rise, but from flawed American policies.
For investors, the focus now should be on long-term planning, monitoring market cycles, diversifying portfolios, and staying updated on regulatory shifts. Despite the optimism, volatility remains a concern, so investors must reassess risk strategies and stay patient for future gains.
In 2022, Western nations froze $300 billion of Russian reserves, and Putin questioned the prudence, saying, "Why rely on foreign assets that can be confiscated?" Russia's stance was then further reflected in recent legal reforms. A law permitting crypto for foreign trade transactions took effect in September. Although the full regulation is pending, it marks a significant step. Meanwhile, plans to launch state-backed crypto exchanges are reportedly underway. Now, despite these advances, the government has imposed restrictions on crypto mining. Regions like Siberia face seasonal mining bans due to electricity shortages. In occupied Ukrainian territories, mining is completely prohibited. Putin's transformation from a Bitcoin skeptic to an advocate highlights this broader strategy. Once dismissive of the technology, he now recognizes its role in reshaping global finance. For the crypto market, Putin's endorsement is significant alongside pro-crypto sentiments from figures like Donald Trump. Once a crypto critic himself, the US president-elect has made a U-turn. Donald Trump has become a supporter of cryptocurrency, which has driven Bitcoin's rise in the last few months. The recent naming of pro-crypto advocate Paul Atkins as SEC chair only means that the incoming US president has decided to embrace crypto. And given Putin's liking for Trump, it very much could be that the Russian leader has taken a few notes.
That's all we have time for today. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We're so glad that you joined us, and we look forward to seeing you right back here again tomorrow. Thanks everyone for watching. From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America.
Hello and a very warm welcome. I am Gusheen Garland and you're watching Firstpost. In the next few minutes, I get you the top 50 updates from around the world only here on Fast and Factual. Let's get started.